Thank you for tuning into episode 21 of Inside Zed Run. Tonight's guest is a journalist in the Zed Run space, San Fran Tribe. If you don't know him, you should follow him on Twitter. Same name, San Fran Tribe. The guests are MJ Stables, the king of data analysts and speed, and myself, Golden Globe Master, the independent game developer. How's everybody doing tonight?
Doing good, doing good. How about you guys?
I'm great.
Jets doing well. Oh, who'd they play today?
We played the Houston Texans, so it wasn't really a big win.
A win's a win. Take them where you can get them.
I will.
I'm still recovering from Thanksgiving, but it's good to be back home. It was a good trip, much needed trip.
Yes,
awesome. Yeah, were you in Florida for a bit?
Yeah, I was in Miami for a bit, and then up in the Atlanta area.
You know, I saw a post on Twitter. I think you liked it about Texans being bad drivers. But I was in Florida recently, and holy cow, Florida, I think, takes the trophy. And it's bad.
I don't disagree with you. Had a few scary moments myself.
Yeah, Florida's, that's how I'm gonna say. Yeah,
Florida man does it again.
So, kicking things off, San Francisco Tribe. Are you based in San Francisco? And where did the name come from? It's a very interesting name.
No, sadly, I'm not. I'm 27, just so everybody knows. But growing up, I was actually a competitive gymnast, which is not very common at all. And I would travel all over the U.S. and sometimes internationally competing. But one place I'd go every year was San Francisco. And so I really fell in love with the city. The first year we went, I went to Alcatraz, all the piers, did all the cool stuff. Next year, went to the Redwoods, just started getting familiar with the area. And so just going year after year, kind of started developing some friends. And so really fell in love with the place. And so a couple of years back, I started multiple blogs, and they're actually a city and then tribe. So like there's an Atlanta tribe, a Honolulu tribe, and I own all the domains for pretty much all the cities. And I started with San Francisco because I was familiar with the city, and I also saw that crypto ranked high in the domain rankings, and so just search history. And so that's just what I started to go with, because early in 2016, 2017, San Francisco was searching crypto every day with all the hedge funds and, tech startups there. So that's actually where the name comes from, and I just kind of stuck with it. So, yeah.
Interesting. Any interest in moving out to San Francisco?
Not right now. I won't get into the politics of it, but
that's fine. That's fine. That's totally cool.
Staying away from California for a little bit, but
no worries.
It'd be great to own a house there one day. So
there you go. Expensive. I'm sure.
Yeah. I just think about the hills. That's really what I think about. If I would move to those hills, got to be killer.
Yeah, there's that to consider, but it's a wonderful city. I mean, I really fell in love with it, but I haven't been back in probably 2 years, ironically, but I need to get over there. My wife's never been, and so I told her we need to take a trip out there soon. So I'll probably find some way to get out there.
There you go. So you got the name from these blogs that you were creating about different cities, specifically San Francisco. Name kind of sounds like stuck, crypto crossover. What then brought you, I guess, where did, I guess I want to take a few steps back. What got you into creating these blogs? Do you have a writing background, a digital marketing background? Where did that come from?
Yeah, no, great question. Why a blog? And it kind of sounds lame, to be honest. Everyone's a blogger there for a while.
I get excited about it.
Yeah. I've always been kind of passionate about startups, and actually in early 2016, 2017, I launched a crypto hedge fund, actually. It was called Apollo. We grew up to a team of about 10 people. Wow. And we actually had $500,000 to $2 million from investors ready to go. And I actually put a freeze on everything because, regulation was crazy. People that were creating decks were getting sued. Lawsuits were going on everywhere. So we're like, okay, we can't do this without some, legal guidance. Long story short, that crashed due to some internal problems. And I've kind of started another startup and another one since then. And so the idea of startup after startup, I was like, eventually I'm going to need some exposure, some way to kind of just reach an audience. And so I realized that, ranking domains, especially for newer sites, was really difficult. So I was like, one thing I saw that media companies would do is they'd have this network of like websites that they would kind of like feed your company through. So long story short, I was like, I'll just start some blogs. And when I get a good idea one day, I'll have an audience that I can push my product to or my company. And so it's kind of a long con game, right? I'm just kind of getting an audience and just kind of learning how to do SEO and build a website, JavaScript, all that stuff. And I've just been kind of learning it over the past couple of years and just building out kind of, email lists and all that stuff and socials. And so I'm still learning how to do it. And my Twitter's not very big, but I'm kind of like investing in social media more because I see its appeal. So long story short, I just realized blogs are a great way to reach people and gain exposure. So that kind of all ties into the same pipeline.
100%. That's love it. So you go from blogs, startup culture to San Francisco tribe, crypto tie-in into Zed. How did you stumble into Zed? And at the same time, did you come into other NFT projects first? Come in at the same time with other NFT projects? Like what does that look like?
No, good question, right? That's always, how did it start? Zed was really one of those real casual things. I was scrolling through Twitter, and I've been in crypto since 2014. And my last big project I was really a part of was Cardano. I actually almost got hired on by Amurio from one of their analysis teams, but I didn't want to move to Japan. And they were like telling me all about it. And I was like, no. Long story short, I've always been interested in research. And with the blog, I get the chance to research a lot of cool things. And so I really just came across a Midnight's like coat color horse one day. I was playing on OpenSea and I saw it. I was like, wow, that's really cool. And then I clicked on it and I was like, what are all these properties? And then I like dug in and found the website and I was like, well, this thing can like do stuff. I was like, oh, sweet. This isn't just like a drawing someone made. Because I thought the horse itself, I was like, oh, I love the way they made it geometrical and stuff. I was like, oh, that's so cool. And, I realized it can race and I was like, oh, that's amazing. And I was like, this is awesome. And so immediately I fell in love with it. And I just dug in for probably like 2 weeks. And I was like, okay, I got to buy a horse. And the first horse I like bought was like from Dan Shan of all the people. And he was like, hey man, you know my horse? And like did a deal with him. And they just started like giving me information about everything and just kind of like helped me grow a little bit faster than I think the average person. And so it was a lot of fun. I just really kind of stumbled into it and just happened to have the money from crypto. And I was like, oh, this looks like a great place to put my money. Because at the time it was just sitting in BlockFi getting interest. And I was like, I feel like I should do something and get into this market again. Because I was getting kind of bored, We've had this big run up and just nothing to do. So
yeah that's true.
I feel like I can't, not that I really had or bought crypto for the sake of having crypto, but I feel like I can't go back to just like sitting on crypto. Like I feel like I have to do something with it now. NFTs have ruined that for me.
I 100% agree. I was holding a bunch of Bitcoin and I was like, this is so boring. Meanwhile, it's going to like 60K. Boring. Yeah. Guess that's how it is, got to be a part of the next big thing.
So you got your first horse from Dan Shan. Looks like your stable, at least, I think you might have two. Is it one stable or two?
I had a stud stable, but I kind of moved the horses in and out of it. So all my horses are in my main stable right now.
Gotcha. So I'm seeing like 15 horses here.
Yeah.
How did that growth occur?
I just started buying up Genesis horses, to be honest with you. I bought, I think, a legendary and an exclusive for breeding from Dan Shan. Because I saw he was pretty reputable in the community. And then I figured out that Genesis were probably the ones you really want to have. And I was like, oh, I should probably buy some of those. And so I bought a Buterin, and I bought some Finnies. I was like, I should probably get a Zalo. So I bought two of those. And I was like, might as well get a Nakamoto. So I just found like a good Z2 Nakamoto that I bought. And so I've just been kind of accumulating, I guess.
Do you have I like it. I like it. Do you have a favorite horse or horses within your stable?
Yeah, definitely has to be anyone. Did really good in the last tournament. I bought it unraced for 2.5 ETH. It's a Z3 Genesis Sabo. And wow. I think it's the rare coat color, one of the blue ones. And super cheap, I thought. And so started racing it, and it's just killing it. Got flames all the way to C1, like 100%. And then C1, I was like, I'm just going to put it in the hardest race I can. And like found just a stacked race, and it just got 10th. And I was like, oh. That was sad. But then I finally like grew a pair and kept racing it, and it got, I think, top 40 in the last kind of like the qualifiers for mid distance. So I was pretty happy with that. Yeah, I was like, that's a pretty good horse. Yeah. So nice. Yeah, the first race was with Dank, I think, and a bunch of other big horses, and it got knocked out, unfortunately, in quarters. But it's definitely my favorite horse because I bought it unraced, and it was kind of the first horse I just bought as a Genesis unraced and just went for it, and it's doing really well. So yeah,
Wow.
Ballsy move. Glad it played out for you.
So you raced it right before odds went away. Then it appears.
It had one race of odds actually, and
9.48 at 1,200 meter.
Yeah, so I knew it had something. I didn't know if it was, anything important, but it just, like I said, every race from C2, C3 to C2, it flamed, and so I knew it was really strong.
Yeah.
And getting into C1, I really wasn't sure how well it would perform, but I found 1,800 is probably its best. 1,600 is really good, but it's inconsistent. 1,800 it places first pretty well, so I learned. That's what's about this game. It's all about learning the horse and learning where, not just where it does good, but where it can get that first place. And so slowly getting information.
So on the Zed platform, though, besides being a journalist or a blogger, I just say that's a journalist, but besides this writing these great in-depth articles and interviews and stuff, as far as playing the game of Zed, how do you view yourself? More of a racer or more of a breeder?
That flipped really quickly. Originally coming into this, it was right before the market tanked. So I bought my entire stable to breed. I wasn't even going to touch racing because I was like, that's gambling. That's for dumb people, No, I just didn't realize, the stats. And I've never raced horse or bet on horses. So I didn't realize anything about it. And so I viewed it as gambling. And to a degree it is, but to a degree, if you know where you're placing your horse and you do the due diligence of the race and you know what it's up against, you can pretty much guarantee a win in some instances.
Yeah.
So I bought my stable to breed and I was calculating how much I could get, based on floor values, and I was still going to make a good amount per month. And then of course, like the floor dropped and we've got all these horses coming to the floor and you can't really sell a bred horse very easily. So I kind of switched to studying and racing, I guess. That's where I found more of a profitable stable.
And so what's your strategy toward racing? Not just with anyone, which is a pretty damn good horse.
Just in general? Oh,
yeah.
It changes. For a little bit, I had two horses, major speed and different gravy, that could hover like C4, C3 and just crush it in sprints. But 2,200, they get like last every race. So it's perfect. I was like crushing it, dropping. And I, joining in, I thought that was really weird too. I was like, why would you want to tank a horse? And so I raced my whole stable up to C1 and I was like, oh, horrible decision. So very quickly I was like, oh, I get it. And so I dumped them all back down, I think, when we had like a surge in free races at some point. And then, those two horses were doing great in C3, C4, making some good money. And then with the tournaments, of course, they all went back up. And then it's just been kind of hit or miss. When they changed the payouts of races too, I just kind of stopped racing altogether because you couldn't really get a race. It was just, I think they took away stamina and then they changed the way all the paid races were. I think like C4, the highest was like a $5 or $10 race.
Yeah.
So it just really wasn't worth it. And then my horses would class up too fast. So I was like, it's not worth it to try and race them. And, it's been changing. Right now, I'm only focused on class 1 for the tournaments. And so really, I only race like my Nakamoto, my Zabo, and then I think different gravy for sprints, ones that can win or get in that top 3 place. Everyone else, I've just been kind of like sitting on, honestly, breeding or studying. And I also don't have time to sit at the computer for 5 hours a day racing, so that has a big influx on it.
Yeah, the race generation algorithm is just it seems to be progressively getting a little worse with the type of races it spits out. Because I don't know if you were here in July when like you just enter your 3 races and then you could just pretty much walk away from the computer.
Oh, that'd be nice.
It was so good, but there were flaws in that because the races were going out 18 hours and stuff like that. So,
oh my gosh,
it was hell, but it was great at the same time.
I think I learned about Zed right after that. I think, and then it kind of took me a couple of weeks to buy in. I really started racing, I think, in early September, so I haven't been around that much in terms of like actually being active on the platform.
Okay,
but yeah, it's interesting, right? Like the racing, It's better in some ways and also worse. I'd agree. Like you can get more races in, and Class 1 goes a lot faster than even what we saw in September. I mean, Class 1 was dead. I mean, even Dan Chan, when I bought the horses, he was like, I was like, why don't you want these horses? They're Class 1. I can't get in any races during the day. And I didn't realize that until I started racing. I was like, oh, I get like 2 races a day. I was like, is it possible?
Yeah. Yeah, there are a lot of races going off in Class 1 now.
What are your thoughts on just all of the changes to Zed, with the changes in points to changes in rake to tournaments now rolling out very frequently, as far as how it's affected you overall? Do you view, I'd say let's bundle the last 2 weeks of Zed. Are you positive, neutral, or negative on how it's affected you personally within the game?
Overall, I think we obviously I've matured in just the idea of what Zed really is, because it sounds great when you discuss it. When you're in racing and you've got a lot of money in the game, it is a little bit different, right? You have more exposure to the different classes, you have more exposure to the payouts, you have more exposure to the tournaments, and when you have a lot of money in the game, you're kind of getting a feel for everything, and I think that's important. And from just our limited exposure, what we've seen is that the game's moving in the right direction in terms of giving more utility to horses. And I think that's really the outstanding issue in my eyes as it is a product. Because right now, if you've got a Z6 Finney and he's not a good racer or a breeder, what do you do with it? Like what?
Yeah.
What do you can't sell it. What do you do with that?
Yeah.
Maybe the pity tournament, I don't know. But bringing some utility to those horses is going to be extremely important for this product to survive, or you're just going to see a ton of, these stables just liquidate for next to nothing. And yeah, it's going to be extremely hard for the top stables to stay positive. And those are kind of the people that are going to drive it, I feel like. But, that's just one opinion. Obviously, there's a lot of them. So I don't know. Some people hate what's going on right now. Some people love it. I think it's in the right direction. I don't think it's going to be like one update fix, right? Like it's a lot of like testing and making changes. And I see them making those testing changes, like they tried stamina, took some of it away. They tried like changing the payouts. Obviously that didn't work. They're like, oh shit, sorry. And so sorry if we can't cuss. But
that's fine.
A lot of it is just going to be this, A/B testing of like, what are we supposed to do? What does the community want? And a lot of what people don't want to hear, and we're going to say this first, but the community as a whole is usually going to suggest the wrong thing, right? Because contrary to belief, what the community wants isn't always what's best for the platform. And I see that a lot. I see people screaming for this, and I know people are shaking their head that like, once you do that, like you're not going to want it, but it sounds great, and there's been tons of proposals like that, and I'm not going to point them out or anyone out, but we've seen it.
I'll point myself and Dan Chan out. Those minimums that they took away, I can honestly say that's something me and Dan Chan was like, they need to have a maximum down at the back end to keep the people out, and that didn't work. That didn't work at all. People just stopped racing, and then they put a minimum on Class 1, which really messed people up who were in Class 1. And so that minimum and maximum it wasn't good for the game overall. And that was something I thought might have been good to keep some of these horses out of Class 4, and it turns out that is the point. And then another idea that was just given to me from Clown Assassin was to fix the class system. They don't even have to do an ELO system. They don't have to do any of that. They just tie the class system to the distance. Mm-hmm. Like you'd be in a class for all 9 distances, and that fixes the problem that you can't tank anymore.
Yeah. What do you think, MJ?
Like,
you're staying silent.
So, like the if I'm understanding you correctly, Golden Glow, like the whole changing like the minimums for different classes for like entry fees, correct? Like I think in the current system, yes, it didn't quite pan out as we had wanted or hoped or thought it might have. But I also think that's like, well, if you're going to make that change, you also have to like rebalance the race scheduling. Yeah. And like you have to like that's part of making that change appealing, and they just didn't do anything with it. It's here, we tried it. Like it's like you're A/B testing off of a incomplete picture of what your objective is.
Okay.
You're A/B testing in isolation without a broader goal, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I feel that that's how a lot of these changes are. And when you take that approach, it's not necessarily wrong, but it usually leads to longer timelines. And it usually leads to certain ideas being shot down before they're properly vetted. And I guess that's a concern I have.
Okay. That's a fair point, fair criticism.
Yeah, the product as it stands really isn't ready for a lot of these changes, or to really see their impact. I mean, I was a huge gamer growing up, and I was actually started some of the gaming groups at my college. I went to Georgia State, actually. I went to the Air Force Academy, then went to Georgia State, where I finished up. And actually, I played League of Legends. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it.
Mm-hmm.
But I started the team there, and actually they got sponsored by Riot, and now the captain and the coach are actually paid jobs. And like, it's kind of cool because like I got all that started and I got to see it, and I got to go through the hiring and like recruiting the team, and we actually went to some tournaments. It was a lot of fun. But you know, these games have millions and millions and millions of players, you know?
Yeah.
And when they make a change, you can really see the impact. Zed sometimes only has 20, 30,000 people racing, which really isn't that much. And sometimes it's just the same course, right? The same stables racing over and over and over again. So a lot of these changes, you're not going to be able to really say, hey, they've made a positive or negative impact, because we just don't have that distribution that we can look at and say, hey, this is really good for 80% versus 20%, because sometimes only 10% of the stables are racing. Yeah. So I don't think we're going to be, like you're saying, MJ, a lot of these changes might have to be reincorporated later on when we have those 5-10 million people racing. I think the class system is a huge issue just off the bat, like from so many games we've played. I mean, having just 5 classes for 100, 200,000, and eventually 1 million horses is insane. Like, that's not enough barriers, not even close, especially when a horse can go class 4 to class 1 in like a day. Like, that should never happen. That shouldn't even be close to possible. And so, like, that's something that I don't even know how they're going to fix. I've never been on betting platforms or anything like that. It's going to take a lot of analysis and people much smarter than myself. But, like, obviously that's going to be a huge change down the line that might fix a lot of these issues by itself. But, yeah.
I agree. No, that was, I like that. That was, I think that's very well said. Very well said.
Very well said.
Yeah. Very well said.
Very well said.
And so, we're going to start using that. I like that.
And so, this is a question I do have. So, you entered the Zed around like September, you said?
I started racing like the start of September, and like I think it was right when Stamina hit, or like right before. But I remember there was a huge change in like a day, and I was like, whoa.
And you started writing articles or blogs in probably, I think the earliest one I read was like the middle of October, I believe. And so that's pretty decent to me as well, because like you like MJ and like Zombie and a couple other people, you immediately started, you saw something that you really liked and immediately started writing about it, and writing pretty good in-depth articles as well. And so what made you want to write our blog just about Zed in general?
Yeah, one great piece of advice I give for any creator is whenever you start any project, write down everything you learn right off this bat, because those are things that a lot of new people don't know. And like what you're learning and the questions you're experiencing, no matter how dumb they may look now, 2 months from down the line, those are questions people are going to have, right? Like I was like, where do you buy a horse? Okay, I'll write an article about that. You know, I've had so many people reach out to me. They're like, I can't get my Ethereum to Polygon network. How do I get my Ethereum to ETH? And, you know, I just think, well, here's an article on that. And, you know, just in the month, that's changed. People are using the Umbra network now, which is way cheaper than the Polygon bridge, I think it is. Yeah. And, you know, there's so many layer 2s. I'm not going to get close to that. But I just kind of started saying, okay, here's the questions I'm having here. This took me 3 hours to figure out. Well, that clearly needs an article, because, you know, it shouldn't take 3 hours to figure out how to transfer a horse, you know, or something like that. Not saying that's what took me 3 hours, but that's just an example. And so that's kind of what I started writing on, was really simplistic stuff. And then as I started doing these stable interviews with Dan Shannon, having a bunch of conversations with him and just racing. I'm very analytical. I'm an actuary by day, so I really just kind of dove into the numbers, and I think I have a huge advantage from that degree and that job. So I understand data a lot better than probably the average person. Not most people, probably the average person. So it did give me an advantage to kind of understand the horses, the distributions, and also a lot of the stuff BG puts out. I could actually understand it. So I feel like some people are like, "Oh, that's pretty. Those colors, colors." So.
And so we do have a question in chat. Sorry, black your face out right quick, MJ.
You're good.
What's your opinion on the BG racing algo change or the rumor of the inside info used to buy Sentinel?
I saw this today, the tweet about Sentinel. Apparently, somebody commented that they think there was inside information about buying a horse that I think is now like a top 5 horse and just killing it. And I think it had something about the wallet address, only had a few transactions, had never bought a horse, and something like that. I don't put too much weight on anything about a wallet because I'll open a wallet and move, a couple Ethereum through it and be gone the next day. It's very common in crypto to open wallets and NFTs and just move things around and things will pop and just be gone. I mean, it's not abnormal at all. I wouldn't put any weight into the wallet or anything like that. Now, if that stable only has one horse, that's all they're racing, and they're just racing 100 times a day, like that I would look at and be like, oh, that's kind of weird. And they're not racing like cheap races right off the bat. They were hitting $25 and $50 and $500 races. And that would be something I'd be like, okay, that's a little bit too much confidence on a horse you have no data on, and the horse was unraced. And so those are things I would look at a little bit more, but that's my opinion.
That's kind of sort of what happened. People are saying this in the chat. The sketchy part is that it only has one horse. He offered 12 Ethereum for the horse. It's a Z2 Genesis, which I think the floor is around like, not the floor, but at the time I think they were going for 8 ETH. And so I looked into it. I'm still looking into it as far as the Sentinel thing is concerned. It is sketchy to say the least because it was originally owned by Zed Run Tools, who was just sitting on it. And like anyone here, if like you have an unraced, unbred horse, like you got like a Z2 Genesis that I think the floor on them right now is 5 ETH. If somebody offers you 12 ETH for it, you're going to be like, fuck it, I'll go buy 2 more. And so you'll probably take it. And so, and it also only owns that wallet only owns one horse. And like you just said, it's only been racing in the big races.
Yeah, that is sketchy.
Yeah, I just pulled it up. I don't know too much about it, but it currently has 488 class points in class 1. Paid 26.85% win rate, 48.99% place rate, 63.76 show rate, 99.33 fire rate, 149 paid races, 1 12th place finish, 1 11th place finish, 3 10ths, 2 9ths, 7 8ths, 4 7ths, 6 6th. Then when you get to 5th and 4th place, 15 finishes there each, and then third 22, second 33, first 40. It has 1.89 ETH in entry fees and 6.279 ETH in profit, not winnings, profit. Yeah, 330% ROI.
Wow.
That seems very. Either go buy a lotto ticket, all the lottery tickets you can in the world. Something about it feels very off.
Yes.
What are you looking at, MJ? I'm looking at Know Your Horse, and it says 8 Ethereum in profit.
He probably just clicked.
I did. I Know Your Horse is paid. Yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
And so the tournament, he didn't count the tournament races, so that's just paid racing. And so,
when did it start racing?
October, like the beginning of last month.
Yeah, okay, that seems a little bit suspicious, I will say. Now, I also wouldn't put too much weight into the purchase, mainly because there's not that many unraced Genesis horses. And I know some people will rather pay a premium getting that unraced horse. I know Sinostros, I think, is a guy. Now, it's uncommon. I will give you that.
But I don't think anybody's going to pay a Z1 Nakamoto price unraced for a Z2 Nakamoto. That's probably the sketchy part.
I feel like if you're buying unraced, you for that reason, like you want to try and preserve that mystique, that value, and to me, I view that as like a long-term investment, not flip it right away. And the Griffin was on October 20th, so a month and 8 days ago.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's
weird. I think it is definitely weird. I think the oddest part about all of this is the stable has one horse. That's all the stable has, and the lack of transactions thus. I'm not too worried about the purchase or the, some of the other stuff. I think the odd part is it has one horse, and that's all it's ever done. Anyone new to the platform, I don't know, wouldn't catch on that fast, and I don't think their stable would have a chart like that for profit. That's just my opinion.
And the crazy part that people are talking about, I got you, Hank, is fraud, is that it was in both Netflix races. And so that first one, that's a little. So what the accusation is that somebody from Zed bought the horse. Somebody who works there with inside information. That's an accusation. I don't know how true that is. I'm not going to get into that. That is a little.
Getting in the Netflix race with one horse, like you weren't on the platform racing all day, so you wouldn't have got into it. Arbitrage is one of the only people that was like, Arbitrage definitely will get in that race, and everyone else was random, so I was like, that makes sense. Arbitrage is racing all day long. Yeah. But that person with one horse randomly being on the right time for the Netflix race, that has to be inside information. I will agree with that.
I'm not going to touch that one.
There's no way. It's just not possible. Like the chances of that are so slim. It's not probable. So.
When was that first race too? When was that first Netflix race?
Last Monday, I want to say. Last Sunday. Not this Sunday, but the previous one, because around 4 or 5 o'clock Sunday.
I thought it was longer than that.
No, it was not this Sunday, but the Sunday before that, if I'm not mistaken, because I remember it was a Naruto versus Sean versus Naruto stream, and they happened to catch the race.
Yeah.
And so, because nobody knew.
Gotcha.
And that was on a Sunday.
Weird. Yeah, that's really suspicious. I'll agree with that.
Yeah, one thing I'd be curious is like how many races that horse had prior to that first Netflix race.
Definitely, that is.
I'm on it right now. I'm looking for this.
Yeah, so, what was the date again?
The
14th.
I don't know.
I think that would be the 14th, but let me see. Yeah.
Okay, so it was 2 weeks ago. Sorry, I said 1 week.
That's an expensive race to enter into.
And so the other topic was the race algorithm change. The BG did, and I think we'll probably all bump the thread like once a week or so just until they respond. But that particular topic popped up on there. Excuse me.
I see it. The Redwood City Classic on November 14th. Is that what it was called?
That's what it was.
It had 94 races before that.
Okay.
And it was already, 23% win, 42 place, 61%.
So established enough to know what they were doing with that.
Yeah, and given it was 1,000 meter, it's a sprinter, so there's no doubt they would have entered if they would have been on. The chance of them being on is still in question.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Throw my hands up at the moment.
First off, a lot of people don't have $3,000 in an ETH just sitting in their wallet to even enter that race. I feel like that's not a common amount. I mean, like, I own a lot of Ethereum, but I don't like. I just keep enough to race in there unless I need to make a purchase. Then I'm moving things. But like, I don't usually just keep $3,000 in ETH in that MetaMask wallet just because. It's like that's one thing. Second off, being on at the right time and knowing, I don't know, it's very circumstantial, I would say, but they definitely need to say something about that. And great find for whoever found that as well.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, I know you mentioned BG and his.
Yeah, that popped up. That topic with the Sentinel thing was on BG's post about Zed not responding to what he was saying about what he found in the data with the racing algo change on August 23rd.
Yeah.
In case people aren't aware, the way DGBG phrased it was that if you had a distance preference horse, like an extreme distance preference horse, it became better at its extreme distance preference and worse at the opposite side. And Zed said something about tightening up the finishes so that the horses didn't finish too far behind each other. Something like that was what was the change that was made, not actually to how the races finish. And I think the data or the finish distribution shows differently.
I think I remember that. I think it was a change to variance, correct? I think that was the biggest thing. And I thought the way that would incorporate on the horses is that horses would be slower on their preferred distance, as in like wins, as in like they wouldn't win as large of a gap.
It was supposed to be they wouldn't win as large as a gap, but in my opinion, I think what happened was it introduced a bug where the horses with the extreme distance preference, they did get better over that course.
Yeah.
And so either there was a bug before then or there was a bug afterward. And the way Zed phrased it was a bug to begin with, and they basically fixed the bug, and that made the distance preference horses better, which depending on how you invested on the platform could have made you lose value or gain value if you sold or owned one.
Yeah, that's about how we understand it. Is that how you guys understand it, MJ? Or you?
Yeah. Well, I'm just looking at just like the changes in standard deviation as well of like the September and now November plummeted from October. It looked like things were trying to like recover in October and then kind of fell back off again. We're almost through November now. It feels very odd.
And so what people are waiting for is just the response from Zed, I guess. They said one is coming, and then boom, that somebody dropped a Sentinel bombshell on that thread.
Yeah.
And so now it's probably two things that Zed's going to have to address pretty soon because, people got the pitchforks out and stuff.
Yeah.
Because the Sentinel thing is kind of crazy because the owner hadn't stepped forward on it anywhere. Nobody knows who owns it. And they feel like if it was somebody in the community that owned it, they'd be out like he would have had a Twitter called Sentinel with the horse's face talking shit to everybody, Like,
the other question is they have a lot of partnerships behind the scenes that they can't reveal yet.
Yeah.
There's a slight chance it could be a partnership of someone that knew, hey, here's a good unraced Genesis to buy, test it out. That's a wild theory. There's a lot going on behind the scenes that we're never going to know, until it's announced. So I don't want to just FUD on them and say, oh, you guys probably gave someone insider information just to win some money, because that makes no sense, right? Why? There's no sense for them to win the racing money, right?
Yeah.
Now, if it was a certain partnership that they're like, hey, you want to experience the platform in a good way, I can see that. Not saying that that's right. I'm just saying from a business perspective, it's like, I don't know. You take of that as you will, but that's just another wild theory.
My theory was also I was saying this earlier in in a Discord when we were having a conversation. I said it could have been a hack. Somebody could have easily hacked, or not easily, but somebody could have hacked the database. Digital Humans, they're a startup. Digital Humans are the people who own Zed. It's a startup. It has, I want to say, roughly about $80 million that we know about from investments. And so, if Amazon could get hacked, which is like the biggest company in the world, and Sony could get hacked, and Microsoft could get hacked for your accounts, it's not out of the equation for DHS to be able to get hacked as well, and somebody just gain access to the database, because our NFT horses are just pictures. They live on the database that is owned by DHS, and so all that information.
DHS, virtually human. Sorry,
excuse me. I keep saying DHS. I say digital human, virtual human, and so VHS could have got hacked. They just didn't tell us, as they shouldn't have. If they did get hacked, I wouldn't say shit.
Devil's advocate, though. Yeah, go ahead, MJ. Sorry, it's your turn.
Oh, no. I just want to say, no, if you do get hacked, you have to tell us. And if they don't, there's like major legal ramifications to that.
Yeah.
And also, if it was a hack, why would you just go after one horse? Unless there are a bunch of rogue wallets out there with just single horses in there.
Well, that might have only been the ETH that he could afford, whoever hacked it, if it was somebody who hacked. Because 12 ETH is pretty, what's that, 12 times 4 is what?
But I would take, if I was doing that, I'd take him for so much more.
Yeah. I tell you
That's
right
pennies.
now, if anyone hacks VHS, they need to go straight to Dan Shin. He'll give you 100 Ethereum. He'll never tell a soul. His breeding blood tool will be the best on the market. So I doubt, I agree with MJ. I doubt they would go through all that trouble just for.
Well, it's just a possibility.
It's absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I got a question to you, San Francisco tribe. Let's combine content strategy and Zed.
Okay.
But it's still kind of on topic with all the stuff with BG. So you're Zed in this case, and you're planning on releasing kind of AMA. You want to answer some kind of bigger questions that are out in the community, and you also need to address this BG thing. Okay. So from a content standpoint, Zed's stance was, we're going to wait till we get these other kind of questions cleared up first. We have our BG response ready. We're going to pair them together in, just one single post, just to kind of one fell swoop. What are your thoughts on that from a content strategy standpoint?
So this would be like the marketing team?
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
It's marketing, it's PR strategy, it's there are multiple different angles you can go here.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't know what I would do. I know that's a really lame answer.
No, that's okay.
I mean, I've run startups, and I know kind of in those situations. I think the issue with Zed is they're kind of past the startup phase. And by that, I mean, they're definitely past the startup phase. Yeah. And they only have a beta platform out. And that's another issue we're not even going to touch on. But these kind of things where you are messing with investors' money are very similar to soft forks, right? Or something you'd see on the blockchain, or maybe an update that you'd see for a token or a cryptocurrency. And I think a great thing for them would be to look back at some of these projects that are literally doing it right now and how they address it and how they're going about working very closely with the community, right? That's the whole thing with crypto and with being decentralized and letting the community run the project. And given that's the space they chose to be in, they need to follow suit. Like they have to, or they kind of need to move away from the decentralized ideology and ditch the DES token. Because if you're going to make this a closed shop thing where you don't talk to the community and we're kind of secret, closed doors about a lot of stuff, they have to start hedging away from that ideology, or they're going to get run over. And they're going to get run over by basically saying, hey, you're kind of hypocrites. Like, honestly, like you're in the wrong industry. And that's what the big leagues are going to eventually tell them. Now, if that's the industry they want to stay in, then they really got to start working on the transparency, not of the data, but of what's going on with the code, what's going on with these horses, what are the changes they're thinking about, what are the changes that were made, and why did they make those changes? Does that agree with the community? And I know I said sometimes the community wants the wrong things earlier on, but they're kind of mixing ideologies. And that's something whenever I led a startup, I really, from the first step, I'd say this is where we want to go, as a company or as a startup. And when I advise startups, that's kind of what I'd say, like, what do you guys really want to do? Like, what's your purpose? What's your internal structure? Who's doing what? How are you going to communicate? And I feel like they haven't gotten that down. That's really a huge lapse. So I know I'm kind of giving the political.
This is great. No, this is great.
America needs to defend the hungry. No, but what I would do directly if I was running the marketing team, and I would say, okay, like we really need to have a face. We don't really have a face behind Zed. Like if I saw Chris or somebody on a Zoom stream, I would scroll right past and not know who it was. Things like that. They need to really start developing a face that can start communicating the stuff out to the community. Second, they need to have a consistency of when they communicate these things. I know they said they would do like weekly AMAs or something, but all that kind of got botched. And now I think they've had one or something like that. And we missed it, unfortunately. But all these things are really damaging their reputation within their own community, which is how I've seen probably 80 to 90% of projects fail in terms of the crypto space. It wasn't that they failed with the product, it's that they failed internally with their own community. And then, you saw the Telegram. I don't know if you guys were on Telegram when tokens are really big. The Telegrams would turn into like frenzies of like hungry sharks of just tearing up themselves. And like you go to the Telegram to get information, just be like, this isn't fun. And you'd immediately leave, right? And so like the community just falls apart. And so I see some of that happening in the Discord as well. And so I know, again, I'm skating around the answer. But what I would do is I would really develop a strategy for how you're going to communicate to the community, on screen. I'll have a YouTube channel, have a place people can go. Hey, we're having a YouTube channel here for Zed. Everyone be on weekly, Sundays at 8. We can talk about the hottest topics, whatever, even if it's just news. Even if it's just, hey, here's what Zed did this week. We had meetings with these partners. We launched the tournament. Here's the top horses, yay. Here's who won. Here are things that are kind of issues that we're working on. Boom, done. 30 minutes. Super easy. And that would go leagues in the community. Everyone would be on the same page. And, if there's problems, we can bring it up there. But I think, even just as simple as a YouTube channel where they're doing that weekly would just eliminate maybe 60, 70% of this, Like there's always going to be those questions on what's going on. But just having a face and having somewhere we can all go versus just sending a tweet or something and having it blocked or,
Or even putting it in Discord when, like, I would say a good 40% of the community doesn't even go on to Zed General or Discord. And so
yeah,
it's like you said, putting it on YouTube because they have a YouTube channel. And I don't know if anybody's actually consumed the content that's on their YouTube channel. Their stuff from like 2 years ago was actually pretty good. And so I don't have a clue after listening to you because I've been in startups, but I was never in the marketing or the public front. I was just like a developer and stuff. So I never actually thought about that, like just putting it into the YouTube or even like I was a big fan of forums. I would say like on the website if they put forums up. Like I really don't like Discord as far as game developers go because Activision doesn't have one, GTA doesn't have one, like only these like really really small studios have one. Even freaking Valhalla, they're after they release the game, they're never in Discord anymore. Like like if you know who Hideo Kojima is or Miyazaki or Sid Meier's, they're never on Discord, bro. They might drop something on the forum every now and then, but like.
And getting back to that, a lot of people are like, we want Chris to come out with an answer, or we want to talk to developers. I don't want to talk to the developer. I don't want to talk to Chris. They're busy. I want them out moving the product. I want them out doing their jobs. We don't need them communicating with us. That's not their jobs. They need a marketing team that can do that. Like if Chris is having to take the time to go on a Zoom meeting to explain, something like, no, he's not out pushing the product. He's not out doing what we need him to do for this all to be successful. And sorry, that's ranting a little bit, but
no, it's good.
It's that simple. Everyone has a job. as long as they're doing it, it's going to be successful. Right now, they don't have a job for the marketing team. Sorry.
Yeah.
I agree. I think very, very well said.
Yes.
Very, very smart, very well thought out. And yeah,
I think they're hiring too.
No.
So here's my response on that. Soon.
What?
Here's my response on that. Soon. Because we hear about these hires. We hear about the new people in Discord. And some of them have been posting a lot. And I've seen good things. But it doesn't address the problems that we're talking about right now. And, we're hiring this person and this person and this person. And they're always hiring. And they're always looking for marketing. They're always looking for comms. But to me, like I said, soon, because when is that tangible? Like, who's going to take that step forward? Surely you can hire a marketing manager, CMO, whatever the title is, to create a basic structure to put these pieces in place.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not just that; it's consistency, right? Like, we need the consistency. That's huge. From every startup, consistency has been the reason most of them fail. If you're not having weekly meetings with your team, 2 weeks out, everyone's on different pages. It's that simple, And if you're not communicating with your community weekly about what's going on, 2 weeks out in the NFT space, nobody knows what's going on. It's that simple. Like, NFTs and crypto are very time sensitive. Every day matters in this space. And you guys know that. I mean, things change in a week. If you're off Zed for a week, you'll come back and be like, what's going on? Especially in crypto and NFT, it's all the same. It's all relative. So yeah, I agree with you, MJ.
I'm looking up the jobs right now. I don't see anything directly tied to marketing. There's a strategy manager.
Oh, there you go.
People, but like that can mean anything. And there's head of people. That's usually an HR position.
Yeah.
They might have already hired someone, and it's just the onboarding's taking a minute. I mean, it takes a while to get someone up to speed and to build. Then, like, what happens is you hire that person, and they kind of got to build their team, right? So if you hire a marketing head, for instance, a lot of time they're going to have people they want to bring in. They're going to have a team that they already have in place. They know people, and it's going to take a couple months for them to get up and running, not just to develop their system and get approved of what they want to do. So we do have to be patient with that. But yeah, I agree with the timeline of this project and how long it's been going on. It should have already been set in place. I'm fully in agreement with that.
So I expanded it out. I was just in the US. Senior marketing manager position is available, but it was posted 3 months ago. Head of growth was posted 3 months ago. Social media manager posted 4 months ago.
So hiring issues.
Yeah.
And it might not just be them. I mean, this market's crazy. Working in corporate right now, I mean, we'll hire just about anyone. Not anyone, but I mean, we're always looking for people to hire constantly. And so the market is very competitive because these companies are growing. My company's grown 2x in the last 2 years. It's insane. I mean, everything's growing. So everyone's hiring. So the competition is really, really hard in the traditional marketplace.
But I feel like that's good. Like, if I'm hiring, though, that's a good spot to be in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. That scares me. I'm scared.
Yeah, they could just not find the right person, right? I mean, a lot of these projects, too, it's not a bad thing to wait for the right person to come along. It's better than getting the wrong person and really having some things go downhill. It could be worse than what it is right now. Let's all agree.
Yeah, 100%.
Many projects tank from their market. So...
Yeah, Zed's surviving some pretty good. So, like, they're surviving, and a lot of that's based off of us in the community. They're surviving some pretty egregious mistakes over the course of the last couple of months, and it's like over and over and over and over again. Like, from the drops to the NASCAR pass to the emails to the racing algo change or not responding to it if it did happen. So yeah, so there's still reasons to have hope because they did design overall a really, really good addicting game. Like there's 38 people in the chat, and that's a small number. Like normally we're at like 75 to 100, and I'm not sure if you guys keep track of how much traffic you guys get on your website, but it's probably in the thousands. And so and we're offshoots of this platform. So they did get something right, like we can FUD it, but we're FUDing it only because we want to see what's best for the game, I think, overall. And so, with that being said, there are issues, but Zed's like John Gotti back before he got booked the third time. They're the Teflon Don of the NFT world.
So let's get off of this train a little bit. What's something you're excited about for the future of Zed?
Oh, the reason I really liked Zed, and this is gonna sound weird, was because one of my startups was a payment processor for restaurants, and it was going to be a to-go app, and we actually still have it. It was called Appy Meal, and we had several restaurants already signed on. It was really cute, great logo. I had a whole design team. Anyways, long story short, I saw the business model of making money passively off of every time someone swipes a card, right, to do a to-go order. I mean, it's insane. Same thing with credit card transactions in general. The most exciting thing about Zed for the big leagues should be eventually owning your own racetrack. Yeah. I mean, it's a no-brainer. And that's what I thought was coming when they announced the NASCAR racetrack. I was like, oh, NASCAR will have its own racetrack on its website. I was like, that would be huge. Like, it makes so much sense. They'll make money. It'll be a new place for people to race. And what that'll do is it'll open up the competition a little bit, where you're not going to be racing against the same horses in class 1. That racetrack can have its own classification system. Like, you bring your horse over there, it's ground zero again. You're racing all new again. And they're making money. It's promoting the product as a whole. And I was like, man, that is where you want to be, is eventually own a racetrack. And I know that's not fully been discussed, but when I looked at, their early papers and some of the things they were saying, they said long-term vision, we want people to own racetracks somewhere. I don't remember where it was. And I was like, oh, yes. I was like, that's gonna be me. And you can get sponsors on your racetrack, kind of like Decentraland, if you've ever walked around there. Even the stadium right by ZHQ has all these banners and companies. And I was like, oh, perfect. It's already ready, just copy paste. And so that idea, not even mentioning VR and everything that's coming with that world, owning a racetrack one day is huge. But not just that, it just pushes the product so much farther. Yeah. That's kind of abstract, I guess, but that was one of the things that I saw, and I was just mind blown. I was like, that's a huge idea. I can't imagine how much money you would make, probably a couple million a day from owning a racetrack, No, seriously, once there's millions of horses racing, you'll probably make $1 million, $2 million a day just off racing fees. And obviously you can drop that way down. You can have a track that has a small rake, 1%. You're still going to make tens and hundreds of thousands a day. So,
damn, we got to start a riot racer down.
Yeah, I don't know if you're familiar with Riot Racers, but I just did a stream on that earlier today. You can, so you buy race cars, and you have to have a driver, and there's actual strategy behind race selection. So different weather conditions, you select different tires, things like that. It's not out yet. This is all just from the white paper. But then you can buy the cars now. But you also buy gas stations. So you need fuel or gas to enter races. So you get a fraction of that. You can buy billboards. So you can advertise whatever you want on those billboards within reason. You can buy parts of the racetrack. You can buy mechanic shops. Some things can happen in your car. You blow a tire, you have to go to a mechanic shop. You get a fee of that. It's it feels like it's fairly built out.
Mm-hmm.
In theory, the racing hasn't started yet, but they've got all these assets out for purchase already.
Yeah. Is the platform out at all, or
no? So they've released screenshots of the the website race selection, things like that, but not actual in-game racing. But the cars and all land assets, the Genesis, have been purchased. Kind of bringing it full circle here. Rooted NFT, the account that bought Sentinel. The only other NFT they have is a Riot Racers car.
Sounds like a partnership wallet. Just saying.
Yeah. So, but yeah, we'll see. Driver drop is happening in December 2nd, and then I think beta or early access racing is mid-late December.
Huge. No, it sounds awesome. We'll have to check it out. I think we might have enough exposure to NFTs, but I'll definitely check it out.
Yeah. And so that's gonna bring me to a question that was asked earlier. Let me scroll up. I didn't forget you. Sorry, I gotta. It's really high up. Okay, here we go. And Perza, he asks, what are some NFT startups you guys are looking at besides Riot Racer? Since we already just spoke on that one.
I'm fairly out of the NFT market, to be honest with you. I've been looking at all these, startups. Zed was the only one I really pulled the trigger on. I've seen several kind of racing ideas. I think there's one you can race ducks, or chickens. I think I saw that one.
Chicken derby.
And I was like, what is this? It was so cute. I almost bought a chicken just because. But I was like, oh my gosh, there's so much to learn. And I don't want to get into something unless I really dive in like Zed. I want to know everything. And so I really try not to invest in anything unless I'm going to spend, the 4 weeks learning everything I possibly can. And so I stayed away, to be honest with you guys.
You don't got to
I've looked at apes, but I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't want to pay that. So, I'm just kind of sticking with Zed right now and just waiting on this market because everything's really high right now. I want to see what happens over the holidays and wait till probably February to March before I start trying to buy more of it. That's me. I'm lame. I'm sorry. You guys?
Nothing wrong with that. It's your strategy.
Yeah. How about you guys?
How about you?
I'm all over the place.
I'm posting about stuff like every other day.
Yeah, I'm like the dog and was that the dog in Up sees a squirrel. I was fortunate with some early projects I got into. Was able to flip some of those, and that allowed me to diversify. I don't like having all of my eggs in one basket. So I'm interested in Riot Racers. I'm partially bought into that. With a sizable investment for myself. And I don't want to talk about anything too much else right now.
Okay. No Red Village?
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I've got 2 Paladins. An R1 and an R3.
I saw that. You want to give me the 20-second spiel on that?
They're somehow tied to Zed. I don't know if it's a partnership or directly related, but think of it like Zed, but with fighters. It looks like it's running on the Unreal Engine. Golden Glow, you might know more about that. Just
on
the way
Unity.
some of the assets, Unity. Okay. And there's mating eventually, so you combine. It's instead of Z, it's R. So it's Z1 is R1. I would assume that's kind of the correlation that I'm making. Then there's Rangers, Paladins, I think Warriors, a bunch of different classes. I don't know what that play out is going to look like. But yeah, you go and you fight.
Yeah, how do they fight?
I think it's some sort of simulated thing. I'm not sure. And then there's going to be a game mode where you can, if you win, you actually take the other person's NFT.
Wow.
I'll pass.
I don't see myself ever doing that game mode. That sounds terrifying, but
yikes. I want to know how they fight. It doesn't make sense. If it's you can actually do things like skill cap, that's something.
They haven't actually released the any gameplay, so we don't know if it's going to be a simulation or if it's going to be a player controlled.
Yeah, a team thing would be cool. I don't know.
Strategy?
Yeah, build your team with random people around the community, and then you guys develop your strategy together. I mean, that could change, be meta changing. They were oh, these guys broke it, 5 archers in the same team. They can't get close, That's that kind of stuff I love.
That's actually what I'm working toward. I'll start releasing gameplay footage in December, but I actually have gameplay. Some people have seen a little bit of it. It was in the middle of a refactor, so I'm working toward one. It's a fighting game, a fighting RPG. I'm dubbing it, so. I'm not going to plug my own thing on the show right now. I'll sit to I can show more. But if you look at my TikTok, you'll see some footage there. That's all in all games. That's the only plug I do. And
My wife has a TikTok. She's got like 200,000 followers or something.
That's awesome.
Wow.
I don't even touch it. Yeah, she's like, I made another one. I was like, yay.
Do it. Great for content marketing.
Yes.
Great organic reach.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a fun platform. Sorry, no meaning to.
It is a great platform.
But cool.
So, how do you approach breeding? We did talk about racing. Let's get back in the interview about Zed, if y'all don't mind, because we flooded and we went to other NFTs. And so, how do you approach breeding?
Breeding's tricky, right? Because if you're breeding, you're not studying out to someone else. And so people are like, oh, it only costs like, 44% or whatever it is, if you breed. But I'm like, you're also not getting money for your stud. So opportunity cost doesn't work like that. Yeah, it only costs that, but you're also not making money. So I actually am very hesitant to breed unless I know it's going to be a good horse. So I've got 2 horses, a Finney and my Nakamoto, that when they breed together, the last 2 have been like pretty serious horses. I think the Caribbean something and then Juniper Berries were the 2 horses it made. And I gave both of those away, actually. One to a new stable that didn't have a horse. And its idle meaning is one of the Nakamoto. And then Jacques Truce, I think, is the Finney. And the other one I gave in a giveaway. And both the horses have done really well. And so I'll breed those 2. And then anyone I haven't really bred in stable, but I've been watching how it does when it studs out. And I don't know if I have another horse. I've got one from Dan called Fire Destiny I might breed with. Yeah, I think it's a Zabo exclusive. Like it's pretty low Z value. I might breed it with anyone and just see how that comes out. But I really look at the opportunity cost, even when it comes to breeding. If I don't know the horse is going to be, because I'm not looking to sell anymore because it's not worth it. If the horse isn't going to be able to be raced, I don't want to breed it. And that's just kind of how I am. But I don't breed outside of my stable. I haven't really gotten into that yet. I've got a couple people that ask when I'm putting my Nakamoto up for stud, if that is, and I'll tell them the time, but I'm not like partnered with anyone or doing any of that. Not that I think it's a bad idea. Like Dan and some of those people that are doing it and doing it with hundreds of horses, like Albert, I think not Arbitrage, but who is it? Albert Hen, Bloodstock.
Oh, yeah.
They're breeding stuff like crazy, and that's cool. It's great for the game, but I'm going to wait until it's a little bit more scientific before I just start, pumping away thousands of dollars into that. But that's my take. Not that I don't think it's worth it. It's just I'm looking to cash flow positive on my stable right now. Yeah. This is how I am with investments, So. That's good. How about you, Golden? You like to breed?
Oh, well, when we initially started this stream, he was the speed guy. I was the breed guy. And so he turned into a better breeder than I did. He got really lucky with Gold War. And it's because I just kept testing like every single possible theory I had because we both got in the platform when breeding was closed. And so I had I want to say 8 different breeding theories. And so I tried them all. And I think I've only one of them has been successful. And that's Holly's horse that I told her, hey, go to the breed barn and breed now. And so she got that horse Flying Fiddler. And that's so far been my only successful breeding theory that I think is probably 90% it's going to hit every single time if she goes back and breeds with that specific horse. But I do have a couple other ones that I'm working toward in my own stable. And I'm doing okay now, I guess. I originally started, like most people know, I started with $1,000 and one horse, and now I'm at like 13, and I didn't put any more money back in. And so,
that's awesome.
I raced. I wasn't that profitable. I became profitable. I just flipped, like back when the market was up.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. I mean, it's tricky, right? It's hard because breeding, it also depends on how your horses breed together. And I mean, I don't know. There's too much science to it right now. But yeah, like I said, Jacques is our only one that we're like guaranteed locked and loaded. So I think the last 2 we bred both went to class 1. I just looked. The Caribbean Dream and Juniper Berries.
Love the names.
Juniper has like a 20% win rate. Mm-hmm. The Caribbean Dream has a 15%. And I haven't followed their racing, but they're both in class 1 right now, I assume, from the tournaments. So I'll probably breed those two, and that's about it. But MJ, how about you?
Breeding intrigues me. It excites me. I'm having some fun with it. I've stopped.
Gold War.
Um,
Oh man.
and but when the market turns around, I'm going to hit it probably pretty hard. I have a kind of a mini breeding program as a way of giving back to the community, which I'm having a lot of fun with, and I'm pretty excited about. But yeah, it's I'm having fun toying with looking at and digesting breeding.
Yeah.
It gives the game depth, right? Something more to look at than racing.
Absolutely. But,
go ahead, sir.
oh no, I love but I love I feel like there's been a big shift in breeding, and I love the stuff that XYZ's putting out, Zed Gazette and Danchin. All three of them. I think they all three have merit in their own way. And I think that's really cool that there's a lot of conversation being had, and Zed too, with their new site that they launched. Just a lot of cool conversation around breeding, and I think that's really important. I think that's really cool to see.
Yes, agreed.
I'm with you. And good to hear you giving back. We try to every other month, but it is hard.
Yeah,
yeah, it definitely is.
When we jumped on, we said we let 3 people just pick any 2 horses from our stable to breed. And so, of course, everyone went from the Nakamoto, and we have a Minty, which is like I think he's like a Z3 exclusive or something like that. I don't know. I need to check. But we went to breed Idol one day, which is our Nakamoto, and the breeding was down. And so by the time we got on in the morning, all the studs were gone. And so it put us a whole month behind in giving these horses away. And I was like, oh, I made a big mistake.
Oh, no.
2 people wanted horses from Jockus, the one I told you about. And so I waited like a whole other month, and it put me way behind. But, it was still a lot of fun. I learned my lesson with that. I was like, wait, don't guarantee people horses. Ooh. But it was fun, It was fun to give them good horses. And I'm sure your horses you're giving out are just as good. So it's a good feeling to get people started.
Yeah, I hope they are. But yeah, we'll see. I gotta be better about following up with people after the fact, just to kind of see where things are. Like I want them to get something out of it.
Yeah. I was gonna get into giveaways, and people know I don't really do giveaways, because Lucky Jack came on the show a long time ago, and we gave away 4 horses. One of them was named MJ Magic and turned out to be a really, really good horse.
That's awesome.
And the dude sold the horse almost immediately to Dan Chan for peanuts, according exactly how Dan Chan says, for peanuts. And I was just like, oh. And so that turned me off, because I was like, I'd give away a horse, but I'm scared you're going to go around and sell it just to get the profit immediately. But you can't sell horses right now, so I might give away my next bred horse. So.
Yeah. Well, it was tricky, right? Because we took some time to vet the people who were giving it, and they could have sold it, right? We were like, okay, prove you're a new stable owner. Show me your wallet address. Like, show me your stable. Like, I looked at some of their transactions. Dug into not. You can only do so much, but
yeah.
I even jumped on a quick call with some of them and just like said, what do you know about that? Just trying to pick their brain, and it was tricky, but it was good to finally give it to some people that were really new to the game, because I didn't want to be scammed either. But it's difficult, right? Because you want to help people, but you also don't want to enable some of that. So you do the best you can, and just hopefully it ends up in the right hands. But we ended up giving away some good horses. So we actually sold one of our horses recently called Welcome Home. And right after we sold it, somebody published like their top Finnies for breeding, and it was in like top 5 out of all Finnies. And I was like,
oh no.
I was like, oh, yay. Yeah, congrats. It was a great horse. I knew it was a great horse, but I sold it to somebody. It was their biggest purchase. It was like a college guy, and he had a partner, and they were all into it. And like, I was like, okay, I can't go lower than this. And he was like, you sure? And I was like, yes. And like, It's like, it's our biggest purchase. And I was like, okay, I'll give you a good one. And then, of course, they published it. And I was like, okay, you got a good one. But it didn't perform for the Fibonacci tournament, so I didn't feel too bad. But, the competition is insane for that tournament. So
yeah, it was.
So, I was like, I don't think it's the horse's fault. I think it was all the monsters coming out of the barns.
So, quick question for both of you this time. Are you in the pity point tournament? Did you qualify?
Is that like a thing you don't talk about? Like, no.
I qualified.
I did. With me being on vacation, I didn't want to enter. And then I found out after the fact that once you got through qualification, it was no longer based off of fourth place, but first. Like, what?
I think that was a weird thing for them to do, but that's okay. I have 2 or 3 horses that might qualify. I've got one different gravy that came up from that C3, C4 that still ends up winning in Class 1, which is kind of annoying. I'm like, please don't. And it's like, I got this. And I'm like, no, please don't. I really don't want you to do it. It's like, so it's pretty close in sprinters. And I've got one called More Traditional. That's a Finney marathoner that, let's see. Let me check real quick my standings. The marathon, he's got 26 races and he's got 42.96 average points. So I'm pretty sure he'll qualify. And I've got one that's got 24 in the mid and he's got like almost 34. So my sprinter's got like 39.18 average points and he's got like 17, 18 races. So I don't know. I've got, 3 that might. I'm going to try and put them through tonight and tomorrow. So we'll see how that goes.
Nice.
Yeah.
Keep us updated.
I love the format for the tournament. Like Congress Enterprise is saying, I just don't like, as you just said, alluded to, MJ, the quarterfinals. And so, they steal ideas from the community all the time. Like, we do know who dubbed the pity point. It was Doughboy of the Pony Plug. And so they should have made it sort of like a Pony Plug tournament. Whereas, like, after you qualify, your horses automatically ran in, let's say, 10 races, and then the top 3 horses point-wise move on to the next round. And then they could have, like, whatever horses you were going to run with, and it's going to put the horses in races. And so you just keep running those 10 horses, or 12 horses in 10 races, and the horses with the top 3 or top 2, however it's going to move on to the next round, and then that's how you pay it out based off of the point spread.
I'm gonna be honest, that sounds really complicated.
It's not really.
Your horse is run one race.
It's no. So think about it, right? We ran 30 races, maybe not 10, maybe 5 or 6 or something like that. We ran 30 races. It's taking the average score, and you can see first through 390, however many horses they got in there. And then for the
tournament, when you get to quarters and semis, it's supposed to just be one race, man. That's what gives it that exciting feeling, right? You got one shot, and every horse in there has that small chance of getting through.
Yeah, but
that's the fun of it, man.
For this specific tournament, though, the way the point spread was, like, it's supposed to be 4th place, not first.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. They could have done a little bit more with the quarters and semis. I agree, but I don't like the idea of making quarters and semis or finals like multiple races, because it's about that just like exhilarating. If my horse doesn't make it, I'm gonna have another drink tonight. And
the only reason I say that though is because there's fucking Z1s in there that are getting high up in the pity point, running up against like some fucking like D29s and shit. And so we know when it's down to the quarterfinals, those Z1s are gonna get fucking first, second, and third or whatever. So that's all.
Sucks. All right, it'll be fun regardless. I think the tournaments are a big game changer for Zed.
Yeah,
I've not had near as much fun as I had with the Fibonacci Cup. The pity's fun. The pity's like, okay, this is cool. It's a good like in between Fibonacci and whatever they do next.
Yeah,
it keeps me interested. But the Fibonacci was like really fun, mainly because one of my horses did really well. But No, I say that, but in quarters it got 11th place with Dank in 12th, I will say. So it was like a hilarious race. Watching the stream, and I was like, "Yeah, crush Dank!" And then it was like 11 and 12th with my horse, and I was like, "Oh god, I'm gonna grab a drink." So, but it was still just as fun, you know. Even if I won, I think I still had just as much fun. Yeah. At that point, it's not about the money; it's just about the feeling,
experience,
the excitement, and not getting any money. But it's still fun, you know. Still fun.
I hope they do a donkey tournament next.
Yeah.
That would be amazing. No wins.
I feel like a donkey tournament would be so fucking amazing because everybody feels like they have the worst horse on the platform. I don't care who you are, what's in your stable. Everybody feels like they have the worst horse on the platform.
Can you imagine that? Everyone's wives walk in, you're like, "You lost! You got first!" They're like, "Honey, what?" I'm like, oh my god.
This could be the ultimate bragging rights.
Yeah.
Of truly having the worst horse.
Yeah.
But I feel like I want this bracketed out by Z number. I don't want a 268 going against a 35.
Yeah. I would love if they start having races and tournaments based on like horse classification, not like the racing of like their Genesis or like their Z number. Like there needs to be a racetrack of like only Z50 plus.
Yeah,
you know,
right?
What's the word? I'm thinking of it. Brain
Crosses and Pacers?
No, the old geezers. The old geezer track. The geezer track. All the Z70s and Z50s racing against each other.
The seniors.
You got some just like limping over the line. Like I think it was Phantom Pacer that did that in the semis. It just kind of like was like, "Oh, I'm going." You know? So.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden the prices on crosses and Pacers spike.
Right?
For a donkey tournament.
That's the point, man. That's like the
That's how we revive the secondary market. Yeah. Just non-stop donkey tournaments.
Could you imagine, bro?
Solved it.
Just inject that into the ecosystem quickly. Then while that's going, then you revise the class system. That's step 1. That's step 2. Revise the class system. Tweak breeding a little bit more. Done. I just fixed all the problems in Zed. Dude, starts with more donkey tournaments.
You're hired. They have one.
And hold on, the race generation algorithm.
Oh, yes. No, so you don't need to fix that if you're just running donkey tournaments all the time.
Yeah, it's all good. We're good. We fixed it.
And I still feel like I have the worst horse on the platform, but I'm sure both of y'all feel the same.
Y'all want to go into World Hunger? How are we going to fix that?
Yeah. Oh no, good point though on the algo, Golden Glow. I didn't mean to cut you off there, but that's
no doubt,
a valid point.
Yes, that's all we really need is the class system and the race generation, just the race generation algorithm to really, so people aren't sitting in front of their fucking screen for an hour waiting for their distance. That's all.
Yeah, the product has so much potential. I know we're talking about a lot of problems. They've done so much, just raising that much money in a funding round is one of the hugest things that we saw. The biggest things that we saw. I write blogs, by the way. My vocabulary is probably hugest. And they've done so many things that are so impressive. Just even selling out in this market is really hard in terms of all their Genesis horses. I know the drops were a botch and everything went wrong, but it speaks volumes that there's so many people here just waiting and just like hanging on to it and just still investing and buying, and so many big wallets coming in too and buying out some of these. I think Breathless Edge was at the horse over like $500,000. I know there was a sale that went for like $2 million for like a bundle of horses a while back.
Yeah,
there's been a bunch of that stuff behind the scenes going on too. So the money hasn't really left. It's just kind of shifted around, and having this platform, they've done so much. And I hate to really talk bad about it at any point because it kind of leans from all the things that they have achieved to kind of just like, look at this, while those things are important to fix.
Yeah, like they got they did do. I think they did something right when they opened up breeding. I know you weren't here for this, but they opened up breeding, and I thought they were going to shut it right down that night. If you remember MJ, I was like, they have to. Like, somebody's horse got bred with 8 times, bro. And they were up on, whoever is on the dev team was up working overtime, bro. Because like if you look at like June, like a horse named Monterey, right? It's Z2 Nakamoto Genesis. I think it got sniped 8 times the night breeding opened. And I don't even think the owner of the horse was able to get a breed in. And so, like, if it was a Z1 or something like that, it was on for the minimum, it was getting sniped. It was it was crazy. See, Crazy Cat said his Z2 got bred 45 times.
What? Did he get money for all of that?
Yeah, he got paid for it all.
Where was I? Oh my gosh. That's insane.
Oh man.
Yeah, they were in for the minimum. You got to remember there weren't as many people on the platform that there is now because breeding was closed. And so and then he didn't even get one of his breeds.
Dude, what a paycheck. Imagine you open Zed the next day, it's like $5,000. You're just like, what? Oh my gosh.
And so that was a great night though, I thought. But I was like, man, they gotta shut it down. They can't keep it open. They kept it open and fixed that problem. So Zed, like, they can work. I believe if the team lights a fire under their own ass, they could get it done.
Well, we don't really need to worry about that, right? They have partnerships. The more partnerships they get, and the more people that start investing in this platform, they're going to be watching. Like the community is important right now, right?
Yeah.
But once they get more partnerships and people putting money, not just in the horses, but on the tracks and behind the team themselves, they're not joking around. Like they're going to have serious meetings with the teams, and some of the things the community dig up, they're going to want to know. They're going to be like, "Hey, we invested $5 million into this project. What's going on?" Like. They're not as silent as a lot of people think they are. Like these investors sometimes want weekly reports, like depending on who they worked with. So, that's just another thing behind the scenes they're having to deal with. And sometimes when the community brings heat, like what they're bringing right now, we might be stirring more pots than just what we see. Like they might really be in trouble in ways that we can't know or will ever divulge to us. And, that's just business. So sorry, MJ, you were going to say something too. You got cut off.
Oh, no, I completely forgot. You're all good. I was going to go on some rant, and it's probably for the best.
I forgot what I was getting ready to say myself.
Well, here, I'll throw my favorite question out to you. Do you have any superstitions when it comes to Zed?
Oh, my gosh. I hate this question. Yeah, man, gate numbers. I don't believe that they're not in the code. I don't think anyone does. I don't know about you guys. I've got horses that I'll run in a gate and they'll never win. And then I'll throw them in a gate that I've seen them in before and they're like, yes, like win. And I'm like, never racing in another gate. Yeah, I don't know. That's just something I feel. But it's probably all in my head, But the irony of it.
Nice.
Yeah.
So it's each horse then has in like your eyes like a different preferred gate?
Yeah, I had a notepad one day writing down every single gate they'd race in, and then like over days I'd be like, not gate 11, I was doing that it just helps with my head. I'm sure it's all fake.
It's comforting. The gates are comforting in a weird way, for me at least.
Yeah. You don't want gate 1. You don't want gate 7. No. Gate 8 I like. Sometimes I win a lot in gate 3 for some reason. I just see that trend. Gate 8 and gate 10 I go for. I was a gate 12 kind of guy because I was like, no one's going to pick that one, so I'll always get in the race, But I don't know. It just depends on you and your horse.
Yeah.
How about you guys? Any superstitions you want to divulge?
I'm superstitioned out. I had that gate thing, the same exact thing, where I was like keeping track. I had a little notebook because I used to do a lot of Zed at my old job when I was doing the chemical engineering. And because I got to sit around, I'd sit around and play Zed all fucking night.
That makes me feel safe.
Dude, we were making insulation, bro. All I had to do was make sure out of paper. All I had to do really was fucking load boric acid and fucking make sure there were no fires. And the fires weren't even something I could cause. It was the people in the back not doing their job correctly. So,
gotcha. Very safe.
Fucking easiest job in the world. And so, I used to keep track of gate numbers. I used to keep track of the times, like for the speed. And then I realized, I realized how the racing algorithm works, and so I stopped doing all that stuff. Now I just really just follow the data.
How about you, MJ?
I like wearing the sweatshirt, although I've gotten away from it a little bit, especially that it was warmer. But now that it's cooling off, I feel like I'm going to be wearing it all the time. And then I have a similar kind of gait thing, and it's more of just like a weird comfort. Where, like, I mean, I used to just say or like think like, oh yeah, like this horse likes gate 11, this horse likes gate 4, not necessarily off of performance, but it just feels right.
Yes.
You know what to look to during the races. Like, you don't need a guess for your horses. If you always have it in the same gate, you're like, okay, that's how my horse is doing compared to everyone else, and you can look around more. So I got it. Yeah.
I still get lost sometimes if I'm just like, oh, there's only like 2 gates left. I got to pick one of these, and it's like, oh, where's my horse? It's not in its like general area of the field, and I have to spend 10-15 seconds trying to find my own horse, which is raced how many tens of times. It's embarrassing. I'm sorry. I'm apologizing to all my horses right now. I'll do a better job of identifying you in the future.
Sorry, son. I didn't know which horse you were. No, I feel you too. And I found like I didn't care about coat color until I started watching races, and I was like, oh, the bright colors, you can find your horse. And I was like, oh, now I want to buy those horses, not because how fast they are, just because I'll know which one they are. No, I feel it. It's tricky. So.
And so, go ahead.
Oh, I get really excited when there's like a rainbow of horse colors in a race. Speaking of like colors, it's like, oh wow, and that's another thing I get like lost on of like, this looks really nice. Like this is a great arrangement we have going on here, and then it's like 200 meters left. Oh shit, I'm in 9th right now. I hate this race.
You know what's funny is I was watching the Fibonacci Cup, and they were talking about how they like to watch the race. And a lot of them were talking about their 3D angles, and they were like, "I'll stay at this one until like 200 yards, or 200 meters, and then like jump up." And I was like, "I watch it in 2D," and they were like, "Shun that man."
Yep. Nope. 3D.
I can just see how fast they are going compared in 2D. That's just me. I don't know.
Zed Gazette got me watching the races in 2D in my private time. Like I stream every day. And so I literally, when I'm not streaming and I'm racing, I watch the races in 2D. And Zed Gazette, he had like this gravity thing where he said like you could see the horse rising. And so that's like I'm just waiting for my horse to ride. You can see when it's falling back, and then you can see all the breaks and what distances they occur. So
yeah, in the 3D, there's too much going on for my brain. I'm 80, 90. Who knows? But like, I want to watch all the horses and what's going on. But like in the 2D, I can very see like when the circle starts to break, when it starts to drop, and it's like very clear, like midway through a race, how my horses are going to do. And so it's just so much easier for me. The 3D is like, oh, I had a drink, I just want to relax. I don't really care. The 2D is like, oh, my horse better damn win this race. Like that's just me.
I love in the 3D. I can't tell you the last time I watched 2D by choice. I love in the 3D now, especially with the way things are, that awkward moment of, okay, we're sitting in 9th. We're about 60% through the race. Are we making our break or not? And then there's like that 2 second window of like, is it happening? Is it happening? Is it nope, we just shit the bed on this one, or oh my god, like it's going. And just that moment, I love that moment in the races.
Yeah.
That's funny. Do you guys have like a favorite race moment? And I'll tell you mine real quick. I had a horse, it was Jockus actually when I was racing up to Glass 2. It had a race where it just dropped so far it was off the screen, and I was like closing the browser, and then just like straight past everything. I mean, with like 200 like meters, I was like, "What is going on?" It just blew past all. I didn't even know that was possible at that point, and so I was like, "What?" And it just got in first, and that was by far my favorite racing moment. So I don't know what you guys.
Racing moment. You got one, Golden?
I do actually.
Go for it.
Back when I bought this horse, Gallant Tune, it was when I sold off all my Genesis horses, I just was trying to buy racers, and I bought this horse named Gallant Tune. It was a Z15 Finney exclusive, and I think the first race I put it in, I was trying to put it in a $2 race, and I put it in a $25 race, and the fucker won the race. Like, it just like I was like, what the fuck did I just do? Oh my fucking God, I was flipping out. I was all mad. And then I like, so I got to watch the fucking race. And I watched the race and he fucking won this shit. And I was like, holy shit.
Oh, man.
And then I only raced him for $5 after that. $5 and $2. Like, I think I got him. He had 5 races and I raced him to 100 races at a 14% win rate. Just in between $5 and $2 races. And then the guy that bought him after me immediately started racing him in $25 races, and the fucker was winning again. And I was like,
he likes the challenge, dude. I think that's a huge thing. I think some horses step up to the challenge. I don't know. What you I'm sorry, MJ. Your favorite?
Oh,
race
you're good. I don't have a favorite race per se. Nothing comes to mind. Not yet. But I have like a favorite moment, and that was just like watching Gold War get flame after flame after flame, like through like 5, 4, 3, and just like crushing it. Just like that experience of like, oh my gosh, like there's something here. It's not, one of the top 10 best horses in the game, but for someone that had very average donkey-ish horses to have that come through was just such a cool journey.
I do have a good moment though. A couple of weeks ago, I bred with MJ's horse, and he was like, "Oh, it's going to be a total donkey," and then I raced it, and it's actually not that bad.
What's the horse's name again?
Yeah, let's check
the Gloucester Harduncle.
Oh, jeez. Okay, we're gonna have to put that in.
It's from Key and Peele, bro.
English, please. What?
East West Pole.
How do I spell that?
D'_GLESTER.
Got it. Came up real quick after the D'_G.
Okay, let me find it.
And so you guys have seen Key and Peele.
The
East and West Bowl, and I think he was on the West.
Nice.
You need an East and a West stable now, Golden Glove.
Oh wow! I can't get all the horses because my boy Swami, he got Waxin Jackson Flaxen.
Gotta put a deal through.
That's amazing.
And then I think Diamond Hands probably because his online name is Donkey Teeth, and so I'm 100% certain. I don't know for sure, but I think he has a horse named Donkey Teeth. So I'd be missing 2 horses.
Oh man!
Because I do got Jack Marius I sold that one. Jack Marius Tactheratrix. I got a Sequester Grundleplith. The Jasper Probing Crux the Third. I got a crazy name.
Oh yeah, so I've got it up. We've got 35% show rate, 32% flames, 37 races, but they're all free.
Yeah, I raced him in a tournament. I got him in the
point.
Yeah, no, I got him into. He just missed the Fibonacci Cup and went too far up.
Yeah, that last day of that cup, I mean, everyone finished racing, and a lot of my horses moved too. That was weird. I had to race one.
Yeah,
I got first.
I feel like if I class him back down into class 4, he should do okay as a sprinter, based off doing okay in class 3 early. So I don't know. It's all free. So that was when I refused to put money back in the Zed, and then by the grace of my community, they sent me some fucking weeks to keep racing. So I was only free racing.
That's awesome, man. No, the free races I feel like are extremely important, not just for users, but for discoverability.
Yeah.
Like I feel like it's huge if you can race 30 times in a free race and not have to pay just to discover where your horse is good at. I mean, that's amazing for people that don't have a lot of money coming in, versus they'd have to maybe spend a couple $100 eventually to figure out where their horse really shines at.
See. What it was with me was I just made a mistake right after I bred that horse, the Gloucester. I immediately bred another one, and that like basically left me with like $3 in my account. And like I said, like I had swore not to put any more money back in the Zed, and so I was like, "Fuck!" So I kept trying for the tournaments. Like I ruined one of my horses. Like it's all the way up in class 1. And so I got to wait for Elo, and so I still have other horses to race now. So
I got one question for you guys. What do y'all think about horse speed generally?
So I think it's when the data is normalized in some capacity, that it can be a valuable indicator when evaluating a horse, especially early on. So if you can place that speed, and I found a lot of times that when you look at speeds, that a horse that's qualified as fast tends to perform better compared to its competition. I very rarely in all of my horse evaluations, if ever at all, have seen a slow horse that's like a through and through winner, especially given a decent sample size of races. So in my opinion, when you look at speed, you've got to also pair that with a standard deviation. And what does that look like? Is it pretty tight? Is it pretty wide? And pairing those things together can be an indicator of performance. Now, if I have the fastest speed, or I'm significantly faster than most horses 3 races in, okay, that's probably an outlier. Probably have to throw some variance in there. It's probably going to balance out over time. But if you can do that consistently and it's not an outlier, then I think you have something there. And my kind of personal case story for that is Murder Weapon. In that when I bought Murder Weapon, that horse was very lightly raced. I looked at it at 3-ish races of data, but like very early on in its career. Let's take a look at that. It started off running 12 and 1400, and it's got third 1 2. So I'm seeing consistency there. That consistency, the fire is also paired with fast speed. So I took a chance on that, and right now I have 50 races, 24% win, 34% place, 42% show. That's free and paid, 140% ROI. Yeah, and it's a $2.50, $5 racer, but primarily class 4. But still, that was an example of, I felt speed had a strong confidence that, hey, I'm not just getting these placements off of any sort of variance. There's some consistency here. It's a backing of consistency, I guess is a good way of describing it.
I find that a lot. It's something I was extremely taken back by, was how consistent some horses were and how inconsistent other ones were, just in U-shaped horses. When I first joined Zed, I thought it was going to be a little bit more random for horse racing, but some of these horses are just insanely consistent. Like our horse Anyone, if you put him in an 1800 with anything under a Z2, he's just going to win every time pretty much, which is just kind of weird. I don't know.
Well, it's the way the racing algorithm works.
Yeah.
I think most people figured out that it's not so much that it's a hierarchy among the horses. Know Your Horses just put out their first ELO system. I think it's bad at the moment, but it should improve, because we'll get into that another time.
Let's rate it on 1 to 10. Golden Glow, what's your rating for their ELO system? Out of 10, what would you give it?
A 3.
A 3. Okay, MJ.
I saw they released it. I didn't dig too much into it. I'm happy that they put something out there. And so I'm giving my review blind. Even though I'd say I probably should give it. I'll give it an 8.5.
Nice. Never dined here. Spaghetti looks great in photos.
Yeah, exactly.
The only reason I gave it that low of a score is because we looked up certain horses, like Ducky Malin, and she wasn't even in the top 200.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Phantom Pacer and Bonnie and some of the other really well-known horses that I've not only seen but raced against that I know are strong horses were in the top 400. And our horse, for instance, Anyone, was in top 500. And there were many horses that I saw above it that I was like, those horses don't even flame in the same race. And so I was kind of not being personally biased, but just the other horses that I saw that were, hundreds down.
Yeah, when I saw
any of these horses in the same race would just get clobbered. I was like, it's a great first approach, but I'd give it a 5.
Yeah, see.
All right, a 5. All right, so we've got the low end, the middle, and the high.
Yeah.
That's the only reason. The only reason is because I looked up certain horses. Like it had Escobar rated higher than Roid Rager. Like I said, all right. So if Escobar and Roid Rager are on your ELO list, then that's 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Like
I think Billions is a great horse too. I don't think it's the best horse in the game anymore.
What's that?
I don't think Billions is the best horse in the game anymore.
Yeah.
Personally, I've seen other horses that seem.
If it was going, but if Escobar and Roid Rager are on that list, then that's 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Now, if you're familiar with those two horses, they had 4 parents and were like the strongest horses on the platform.
And I'm not familiar with those horses, unfortunately. I don't run sprints much. Are they in the sprint class?
No, they don't run at all anymore.
Oh, that's why.
Breeding got shut down because of those two horses. They were the glitched horses.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
And
I don't know the names.
Roid Rager had 11 races and was first in every single race, and his odds were like 1 or 2 or something like that, and everybody else's odds were like 100. And so the
Black
horse
Diamond says his horse is ranked 39, so solid 10 out of 10.
Yeah, so that it was just certain things that like I looked at. I was like, no, that's the only reason. It was just if you're gonna have those two horses on, they have to be 1 and 2, and then like Ducky not being in the top 200, and it was crazy to me because they have like an 8. Like we were looking at Sentinel, Ducky have like the same exact profit margin.
Yeah. How do you guys, if you guys were to build an ELO system, what would be your biggest thing that you'd look at?
I go to odds.
Odds. Well, odds aren't a factor anymore.
No, but you could if every. Okay, so if I was going to build an ELO system, I would go to the odds, and then I would go back and reverse engineer exactly on placements, horses that raced, horses that had odds, where they placed, how many times they placed. I'd look at the flames and then try to draw like an algorithm from there.
Yeah. I mean, the way you could kind of do the same thing would be comparison, right? Evaluate horses that have raced against each other. And the more times they race against each other, obviously, the better data you can, kind of pull from that, especially with flames nowadays. Although I found flames to be oddly inconsistent sometimes too. There's been times when anyone has outflamed horses that I know it shouldn't be outflaming insane, where I'll put my Z2 in a race and I'm like, there's a Z4 flaming that? And I'm like, its stamina is at like 92%. I was like, I know that's not real. And
what happens is it's if you go back to there's the race algorithm's funny with the show and the place percentage and stuff like that. And so it's only really the odds work on who's going to get to the podium. Yeah. And so like you could have a horse that gets first place and not get the flames, but the other horses were flamed because they were consistently placing second and third when the race algorithm was generating the 100 races or the 1,000 races, however many day, and then it gives the flames. And so like you could be a first place horse, but you weren't getting first place more than these two or three horses were getting second and third.
Is that how it works? Is it a simulation that the flames lean on?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Have they said that directly?
I think they did. I'm not 100% certain, but that's how odds worked.
I know. I was wondering if it's a similar approach because I haven't seen that anywhere. So that'd be very interesting.
And that was also me going back and looking at odds and looking at flames when they had odds and looking at what exactly happened. Because if you go back far enough, you'll see horses with like 20 odds with flames in a race with horses that have like 9, 10, and 8 odds, and these horses don't win with 24 odds, but they're second or third.
That's very interesting.
It's once again just going back and just looking at the data. It's
MJ that's staying silent over there.
The flames are weird.
That's because it's an indication on placing or showing.
Yeah, right.
It's not an indication on winning.
I don't love putting too much stock into them.
Yeah.
I've noticed I had 2 horses I bred. One never flamed, but won a lot. And then one flamed every single time and never won.
And then
Very
The
good.
other point is it could be a natural U-shaped horse where they first place first and last,
Yeah.
and that's why you won't get flames as well.
I was watching one of Poseidon's videos the other day, and it was very interesting. He was talking about a guy that raced horses for real, and they would talk about the not the speed, but the the way a race would be run. All the horses would kind of run at a certain speed as a group, and he was like, certain horses they'll be way faster than every horse on the track, but because the group ran at that speed, it just never did anything.
Oh, interesting.
And it was super interesting what this guy was talking about. And I'm sorry, I'm butchering it, the vocabulary of it, but it was just a very interesting idea of the average pace of that race really dictated that horse's speed. And because the pace wasn't at a certain level, that horse never reached its speed. It's the speeds it actually runs at and wins at. And I found that very intriguing.
That
From
is
a lore perspective, that's kind of an interesting theory as to maybe why some races are run faster or slower than the others.
Yeah. And that's why some horses almost win the higher stakes races with the stronger horses and lose the $2 races. Not saying that's how it is, but it gave me kind of an idea. I was like, I wonder if some horses just don't run until it's an actual race, just a complete theory, but I loved the idea of it. I was like, that would be really interesting to see in the code.
I don't know how you would code that, to be honest. But because that's definitely an AI thing to me, and I'm not an AI guy.
You'd have to have some random ticker of the pace of the race that would dictate the distribution that the horse can run at, right?
Yeah.
And given that distribution would be, its mean of what it ran on the number, and given the pace could indicate a different distribution altogether that horse really picks. It would be very interesting, especially if that is somewhere in the code. But
yeah,
it's definitely not proven. Nobody ran away with that. It's just random theories I have.
And so the last question I have for you is, what feature do you look forward to the most coming to Zed that we know is coming?
The renting feature I think is really cool. I can't remember who I interviewed, but they said they're already sending 2 to 3 horses to a certain person and letting them race it for a couple weeks and then splitting the profits with them. Mm-hmm. And oh God, I wish I could remember the stable that's doing it, but they're already doing it. And the idea of being able to rent out horses to professional racers, so to speak, long term would be really cool, because I would give all my horses directly over to arbitrage and be like, 90-10, you keep 90, I'll get 10, because I know he's going to get all the profit he can out of them. So, I think that's a really cool feature that'll open up some cool avenues. And I think eventually we'll see professional racers that are just, kind of like traders. Basically, people that sit at the desk all day and trade. Same thing. Yeah. They're gonna just be racing horses.
LJD just sent me a horse to qualify for the tournament, and I raced it 10 times. And I'm like, yeah, I gotta send this motherfucker back. It's not gonna qualify.
Yeah, sometimes you're gonna have to send them back.
Yeah,
you sent me a donkey,
And I already got to deal with Poseidon. So when renting starts or whatever, I'm gonna be a stable manager.
There you go.
Nice. That's cool. Yeah, Poseidon's cool. I haven't gotten the chance to meet him or talk with him, but watch some of his videos. Definitely a smart fellow.
Really nice guy, actually. Really nice guy.
Yeah. I love this space too, because you kind of get a chance to meet people just doing business, right? Buying horses, selling. And it's really how we met a lot of people, just randomly. I think Blue Waters, got talking to him and a bunch of other random people. I didn't know who they were starting off. I'm just buying horses, but got to learn a little bit more than just the horse's price after talking with them. That's how we actually bought our Z2. We just told the guy, I was like, I'm looking at all these horses. Tell me why your horse is better. And he was like, well, and he showed me 2 other Z2s with them. He's like, you can look at these too. He's like, let's look at all of them. And he was like, this one's great here. This one's great here. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. A great guy. I honestly don't remember who it was, but the community is so amazing when it comes to buying and selling and, even escrowing and stuff like that. I've had a great experience. And
That's
anyone that hasn't, I would say, I'm so sorry. It's an outlier. The community is amazing around just, the business side of it, I would say, and stables and being fair priced, I would say.
And so, MJ, do you have any more questions left?
No, that's all for me.
Okay, and so I left San Fran Tribe's Twitter handle if you want to contact him, or specifically go to his Twitter. Make sure you follow him and read his articles. They actually are very good articles. As you can see from the interview, he knows a lot. He knows a lot, and he's interviewed quite a few people as well. So it's just a suggestion. It's not a suggestion. Now go hit the follow button on him. It's a pretty good dude. And then MJ, are you streaming tomorrow at all?
Possibly tomorrow. Definitely Thursday. Big stream on Thursday.
Okay. And so
is that the pity cut? Is that what's going on?
I think
no.
Pity Points Wednesday.
I'm streaming it. I've got some giveaways. My first community giveaway. Technically second round of my MJ for All program. We'll have an update for ZedInsights overhaul. Some things are going to look a little different come Thursday, and should be and some other fun magical experiences.
Okay.
Pun intended.
Yeah, nice. That sounds like some wizards.
Well, hey, I want to just say thanks for inviting us on, or me on, and I appreciate it. The blog really is a whole crypto blog, so I've had multiple writers over the years, and it's been a lot of fun. So we post more than just Zed content, but we really like Zed, so we gave it its own drop down, and I'm working on some overhauls for the blog too as it's getting more popular. But also love MJ, your analytics page is awesome.
Thank you.
It's really cool, and I love to see that kind of stuff. I wish I had the time to build those kind of things, but I'm glad you took the time to do it. And, we already have so many websites and analytic tools. I don't think it'd be worth the time, but I love to see you kind of throwing your hat in there, and I love the product. So definitely
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Appreciate it.
I hope you like the new update that's coming.
I'll let you know. I'll give you the 1 out of 10 rating.
All right. Sounds good.
Never dined here. Seems great.
And so thank you, everyone, for showing up today for the stream. Once again, thank you, San Fran Tribe, for being on. MJ, thanks for being a great partner, as usual.
You too.
I'll be streaming tomorrow morning, 5:30 a.m. I think that's 8:30 or 9:30 p.m. Australian time, 5:30 Eastern time. So everybody have a great night, and see you next week.
See ya.
Thank you, guys.